We are live, fellas. Welcome back to a very special edition of the Mecca of Banter podcast. This is a Mecca Moments. We've done a couple of these throughout the season, and today we are live with Josh Yaro from the St. Louis City SC MLS team. Couldn't be more thrilled to have him, and we'll get to him in a second. But first things first, it's your boy Hen at Henry Wind on Twitter. As always, it's a great week to be a Manchester United fan. I say it every week, and this week is no different. Before we get into Josh, fellas, do you want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, lads, what's going on? It's Hoove here, Andy Hoover, at Young Yid on Twitter. More than excited to be here today. I'm so pumped to have Josh on. We've been just also geeked on the team for so long that, you know, talking to the first signing, the first lad in the dressing room, it's super, super cool. So looking forward to this one.
And you know me, Nick Hayflinger, checking in at Hayfee4. Premier League season's almost over, so your boy is smiling. Fresh start for the Chelsea boys. But hey, big win for St. Louis City, so I'm happy to talk about it. I wasn't here for the last pod to where we got to talk about the thrashing of Kansas City, so happy to hear to talk about that a little as well.
Yeah, and rounding it all out, it's your boy Winks, Lucas Winkleman at LCW21 on Twitter. Like Nick said, the Prem's wrapping up, so excited to be able to start talking more about City in the coming weeks and having our boy Josh on. We are so stoked.
Well, fellas, without further ado, welcome to the podcast, all of you. But we are here to speak with the man, the myth, the legend, the former St. Louis 2 captain and the current St. Louis City first team defender, Josh Yaro, coming all the way from Ghana to the States to now with the MLS. So, Josh, we've done plenty of research on you. As we mentioned before we started recording, there's an incredible podcast out there from the St. Louis City Voices with you on there where we got to hear a lot about your background. But for those who haven't done the research on you, can you give us a little bit of who you are, maybe where you came from and where you are today?
Yeah, no, I mean, again, thanks guys for having me on the podcast. I mean, it's nice to just sit and chat with you guys. But I'm originally from Ghana. I came to the States when I was 15 to a private boarding school in Santa Barbara, California. So came as a sophomore, did 3 years, and then I ended up at Georgetown for college. And then I was at Georgetown for 2.5 years, and I got drafted in 2016 to Philadelphia Union. So that's kind of how I started in the league.
Very cool. The Georgetown's no slouch either. That's a super competitive program, man. Like there's a lot of credit from me on that one. But so what attracted you to Georgetown? Where did you get your start there, and kind of how did that develop you as a player?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, and I've told this story a few times when I was in college, and believe it or not, but when I first got contacted by Georgetown, I had no idea where Georgetown was or what it was about. Because I mean, yeah, I had been in that country, in this country at that point for about 2 years on the West Coast, and so I knew a lot of the schools on the West Coast, and personally, I didn't want to leave the West Coast because coming from Ghana, warm weather, West Coast, always nice and sunny. I was like, I'm not going anywhere that has snow. That was interesting. So I was mainly looking at schools on the West Coast because it made sense just from my upbringing and in terms of the weather and the surroundings. But yeah, Georgetown, it's funny how life works because in high school, our trainer actually left my high school and started working at Georgetown. And I was pretty high on the recruiting list coming from high school. And so Georgetown's coach heard about me, knew that the name of the lady is Beth, that she worked at the high school that I went to. And so she went to Beth's office and I was like, do you know this person? And my high school is really small. It was only 275 kids. And so she's like, yeah, I know him. Like, what do you want to know about him? And so he asked a few questions. She told him a lot about me, and then my Georgetown coach got in touch with me, and at that point I was pretty much close to making a decision. So I kind of started talking to him out of just respect, and I always said I was going to keep all my options open until I made a decision. And so I started talking to the coach, and he is hands down one of the nicest human beings I've ever met. really good coach, really good guy, and all the conversations I had with him just felt right. And then again, like you said, Georgetown it's a great school for what I wanted to study. That was the right place to go, and the program when I committed was on the rise. I mean, that year that I committed to them, they made it to the College Cup and lost in the finals, and so it was a program that was up on the rise, and I wanted to be part of something that was being built. And so, with having a coach like him, and it's funny because when you're in college or when you're looking at colleges and you talk to coaches, they try to convince you why their school is the best place for you, and he never did that. The only thing he did was ask me what schools I was looking at, and when I told him, he said, "Man, all those are really good schools. Wherever you go, you're going to do great." And for me, that was really selfless and attracted me to commit to Georgetown, and a decision that, man, I'm glad I did.
I think that, for a lot of us at that age, being 18, 19 years old, you're really like coming into yourself like as a man as well. You're growing up, you're figuring out like who you want to be in the world. So outside of like the game, outside of soccer, like what kinds of lessons did you learn about yourself in that time of life being at Georgetown?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing for me was being flexible and adapting to things, because obviously, like just like in life with everything, you always have plans, and sometimes they don't work out the way you intended to be, and it's okay. Um, it's okay if it doesn't work out that way. Just you have to adapt, and you have to figure something else out. And for me, having the mindset that I was going to go to school on the West Coast, I was only looking at schools on the West Coast, and then in comes Georgetown, and then clicking with the coach, looking at a little bit about the school and what I wanted to study, and everything making sense. And then the family that I had established in Santa Barbara, going away from that into hours away into a place that I didn't really know anyone, was scary, especially being in a foreign country. But it kind of taught me to just go with the flow and figure things out. Just be flexible and figure things out as they come. And I think that has served me a lot. Served me really well in life, even up to this day.
I think you not weather being as much of an impact for you is huge, especially coming to St. Louis, because you can flip a coin with the weather here. So I'm very happy that you you didn't fall in love with the beaches on the West Coast, because you can't find many out here.
Right.
So shout out to you for that.
Yeah.
Not until you go to the Lake of the Ozarks, at least.
Oh God, have you gone there yet?
Everyone keeps telling me about that. I'm gonna have to check it out one.
Bro. It's
I don't know. It's not the best representation of Missouri.
not at all. But if you're looking to party though, and primarily now it's more college than anything. But they have a couple fun little bars down at the Ozarks. But it's a good time. Real quick on college, just because I'm curious. So we all played soccer in college as well. Defenders at that, wingbacks and center backs also. But outside of the game, again, you said you went to a place you've never been before, where you didn't know anybody apart from having had conversations with the coach. What were some of the things that you did outside of the game to kind of, because mental health is super important, especially when you're playing the game at the level you are and as much as you were. What did you do around DC or around school or outside of the game to kind of just have a good time?
Yeah, I think, one of the things that I did, because most athletes, like, because you guys played in college, usually tend to stick together, room with athletes, everything you do, you're around athletes. And so when I got to college, I tried not to do that. First semester, fall semester of my freshman year, I had a roommate that was on the team. And that was the only semester that I had a room with someone that was an athlete. So I tried to branch out, and I ended up rooming with people that were, I don't know what the right word for it, but just regular students. And that for me opened a new world, because I got to experience different things. I got to see college in a different way. And because, you're hanging out with your teammates all the time, you practice, you travel, you do a lot together, and just being with them all the time, you kind of, your worldview becomes, a certain way. And so I ended up meeting some of my best friends in college, that through just rooming with other people, and meeting other people, and learning about other people and cultures and all that. Because again, Georgetown is a really diverse place, and I certainly took advantage of that. And I tried, whenever I could, to be in the community. And I remember doing community services my freshman and sophomore years, just to be in the community, just to do something different. Because as an athlete, like you said, it's when you're around the game, it's taxing, and if that's all you ever think about, it's going to drive you crazy because you need something else. Wouldn't call that a distraction, but something else other than being on the field and playing all the time or being around the game.
Where were you when I was in college, man? I could have used that.
Could have used some perspective on that one.
Wow. Like, no, for real. Like, that's incredible insight. And I think it shows kind of the character you are and a lot of the stuff we've been hearing around your support of the community and things like that. Because you hit it right on the head. I mean, the moment you said we all kind of migrate to teammates and people that we just have similarities to, I mean, that's exactly what I did throughout my entire college career. So like, I couldn't even imagine of having a roommate that wasn't on the soccer team at the time. So like the fact that you were going out and building those relationships and adding those to like a community based like mindset, I think is incredible. So cheers to you.
No, thank you.
You hit it a couple of times like in that, and it seems to be like a theme, like throughout any articles that are published about you or any interviews you have, like community and service are two things that are massively important to you. Obviously you have your own foundation, which I'd love for you to share a little bit about as well. But at what point was community and service always there from a young age, or was it when you came to America, you went to Georgetown, that became more important?
I think it's always been a part of my life. Like my family is that way. My siblings, both my parents were that way. I think it's just from my upbringing. But I also played for, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but I played for an academy back in Ghana that was also huge on, community and service and stuff like that. So I think from my upbringing to the academy I played for in Ghana to coming to high school, the motto of my high school was Servants, and that's French for pretty much less serve. And so it's kind of followed me throughout my life. And then Georgetown, men and women fathers, it's so going from from being young to my academy to high school to college, it's always been about service, and it's helped me a lot because it's something that I take pride in, and I've always had my whole life people doing whatever they can to make sure that I've always had everything I've needed and wanted. And so again, my thinking is if you can ever do that for someone else, I mean, why not?
I heard you mention it on the City Voice too. You said both of your parents were teachers, which both of my parents are teachers, so that was maybe about the only thing that I could relate to in our upbringings.
It's tough. You probably know how it is. Like the bar, it's set really high, and you cannot slack, and you get good grades. It's expected. It's not like hey, congratulations, you're getting good grades. It's like okay, you got good grades, so what? You are supposed to get that, and it's. And then I see them, especially both of them were heads of schools, and I see how they're related to other students and always encouraging and good job. And then it gets to me and it's like, oh, you should be doing more. And I'm like,
that B is not good enough.
What do you want me to do? So yeah, but it's super helpful because it teaches you to push yourself, never to be content and with things, and I think that's a life lesson that anyone could use. So super grateful for the way that they brought me up and pushing me always, because it teaches you that life is not easy, and it serves you all in the long run.
So after college, life doesn't get easier. You go to that next level of challenge within your sport, within your career. You get drafted by the Philadelphia Union. Talk to us about that, of what that moment was like, going from the college game to the pro game, the major differences there, and your experience in Philly.
Yeah, because we never experienced that. None of us got.
Yeah, we never got there. That's where we stopped. College is where we stopped.
That's why we're here, actually.
That was the secret sauce. Come on.
But the thing is, if you played in college, that in itself, people don't realize, but that in itself, it's an achievement, because it's not. Think of how many high school players there are in this country and how many make it to the college level. It's not as easy as people think it is, and it's. But yeah,
thank you, Josh. I really appreciate you saying that. Thank you so much.
No, but that's the thing. I think sometimes we achieve things and we kind of think it's not enough, but every achievement in itself, it's something, and sometimes we take it for granted, like until you step back and look at it and you go, wow, I did that. It's not everyone that can say you played in college. It's not
very true.
But yeah, no, college was super fun for me. My sophomore year, I actually got an offer from the league to leave school. but I didn't, again, because of my parents.
I was gonna say that
Yeah.
was gonna be. There's no way they did not allow
Yeah,
you to finish
they
that.
were. They've always been on my case to get my education, so I had to find a way to, get as close as I could to my degree. And I knew going into college that I wasn't going to be in college for all 4 years. So actually, I started taking classes in the summer before I started my freshman year. So I had some credits, and then every summer I took 4 classes in the summer. So
Nice.
I was in school for 2.5 years straight in college. Like it was crazy. I would never recommend that anyone does that because I had zero time.
I
And
was
then
about to say, especially as a student athlete.
during the semesters, I always overloaded myself. So I was taking at least 6 classes every semester. It's horrible, but worth it. So, anyways, and so sophomore year, I didn't want to leave because if I had left, it would have been impossible to graduate from Georgetown, and I knew that. So I stayed for one more year. My junior year came again, and I said, you know what? Maybe this is the right time because I didn't know if I had stayed for another year. You never know what could happen. So left my junior year, went into the draft. I mean, I was a pretty high prospect, and everyone was projecting I was going to go number one. But for me, it was more of a case where, okay, am I going to end up in the right place with the right team? Because going to the right place matters. And then the draft itself was pretty interesting because you're sitting there, you don't know where you're going. You know, you're nervous because again, you're thinking, am I going to get drafted? At what pick? Where? And all the thoughts going through your head. And I knew, um, or I thought for sure I was going to go number one. And then when my name didn't get called in the number one spot, I'm going, holy crap, what now? It's. So I'm sitting there, I'm going, okay, well, let's see how this goes. And I'm just sweating, just sitting there. And so finally, with the number two pick, or Philly traded up actually, because Colorado had number two pick, traded up, and with the number two pick, Philly picks Josh. And I remember sitting there going, oh crap, that's me, like I'm up.
Yeah.
And the whole thing kind of hits you because at that point you realize, okay, well, now I'm a professional athlete because I was fortunate that I came as a generation Adidas, so I had already signed my contract, I already had everything. But the moment you get drafted, it becomes real because now you have a team, you know where you're going, and then from there it was just like, okay, you have about a day to get your stuff out of college and move to Philly, and that whole process was just like from 0 to 100 in a matter of seconds, just go go go. And I was fortunate to the draft for my class was in Baltimore, which was amazing because I could literally drive from Georgetown and go to it.
Yeah.
But hands down, one of the best experiences in my life because it's an experience that I think people that get to go through it should cherish it. It's once in a lifetime experience. But yeah, from that point on, yeah, you're a professional athlete. You're not a college kid anymore, and you have to figure a lot of things in life, which I found. And I'm like, being an adult, it's fun, but it also sucks because you have to do all these things and pay bills.
Yeah. No one's like making you food anymore. You don't get to just go to like the rec hall and just
I
like get a
know.
bunch
I
of
could
stuff.
just
it's the worst.
in college, you could just go to the dining hall and eat. I didn't have to
Yeah.
figure all that out and find an apartment. And because that was my first apartment, and I didn't really even have a credit card at that point. So I couldn't sign my lease. I went to the lease and I'm like, if you guys literally want, I will pay you the whole year's rent up front. And they're like, no, we cannot do that. You need credit. I'm like, what sort of what?
Yeah.
I
You're
love
like,
your
"This
money at the end
country's
of the day. I
Yeah.
have your money, but no, so I actually had to get someone to co-sign my lease when I first moved to Philly, which
Wow.
what an
that crazy?
experience, yeah.
The stuff they
That is
never
wild.
tell you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
I
know.
mean, I've never been in like a first team training. I've never been in an MLS training. Does the level just immediately rise from that college level to the MLS like in an instant?
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing because obviously, like the higher you move, so think of it when you went from high school to college. People are a lot more stronger, a lot more athletic, faster, and a lot more smarter. And I think one of the main differences that I found coming from college to the pro levels, because athletically it wasn't a challenge, but it was just the pace of play. The speed of play was, my God, I remember going It just felt like
the
everything
game's
was.
passing you.
It's kind of playing a movie and just fast forwarding. Like it's just speeding, and you're going, oh, okay, because in college it's so much time, and now all of a sudden you don't, and people are seeing things a step or two ahead, and you're going, okay, and so that was the part that I had to adjust to, and it took some time, but once you adjust to that, you go, okay, well, because the rules are the same. It's the physicality, yeah, maybe a little bit. The guys are stronger, faster, but whatever it is, like you adapt to that. But the speed of play was the one thing that I noticed right away, because guys are quick on their feet, can think quicker, see things before they happen, and most college players don't have that. Or in college, it's a little bit easier because you have time and space. And at the pros level, it's you don't have as much.
Yeah, it's like you always think, like, when you play at the college level, everyone was that good at their own high school. So it's like you have a combination of all those guys, whereas you get to like the MLS, it's like some of those players were like their best players like in their academies in Germany or like in Brazil or whatever, or Ghana, and it's like all over the world. And you're like, okay, this is a different level. So obviously after you get to the Union, you spend a couple of years at the Union, you go to like the USL, you have a couple of years there. I want to fast forward all the way until you get the opportunity to come to St. Louis. And as Andy mentioned earlier, you're one of, correct me if I'm wrong, you're the first guy that we signed with MLS experience to come into the City 2 team. What was that like? Like, what was the conversation, like the project? Because you've been here for the project from the beginning.
Yeah. No, I mean, it was great because I was in, what year is this? 2023. So 2021, I was in San Diego. And I remember, I think it was September 2021. Coach John Hopworth got in touch with my agent. I was like, "Oh, this is what we're trying to build in St. Louis, and I think Josh would be great for it." It's so. I mean, it's one of those things that you kind of feel and you go, "Okay, well," and so I started having conversations. I got on a Zoom call with my agent and Coach Hopworth, and we talked, we chatted, and he kind of laid down, because it was really hard to show someone what was going to happen, because the stadium was being built, the facilities were not built yet, and kind of just trying to talk me through what the picture was going to look like when it was done. But for me, I was like, man, okay, it's a new project, sign me up. It's exciting. You get to be part of something that's being built, and you get to see it as it's being built, and you get to experience it at firsthand. And so I was really excited about the prospect of playing here. And so I had never been to St. Louis. So end of 2021, I visited the city for 3 days. Really liked it, met everyone, and that was it.
What did they have you do when you visited for 3 days?
Say,
what did
I
they
really
have
want
you
to
do
know
in St.
what
Louis?
they showed him.
Yeah.
I remember when I got picked up from the airport, the person was like, "We have 2 ways we can go." And I'm like, okay. So they took me, because when you're coming from the airport, I still don't even know this, but there's one way you can go to get to like the downtown area. But they took me, I don't know the names of the highways, but through kind of Clayton, like that part of town, which I understand why it was like that now, because the other way, apparently I've driven it myself and it doesn't look as nice as you get.
They
you
were
get
showing you the nice neighborhoods.
Yeah, you get picked up. You get shown around the city. Obviously, touristy things that you do when if you were visiting St. Louis, on your own, and then
show you the arch.
Oh yeah, I went to the arch. I was like, man, I remember thinking, that's impressive. How do you even build that? Honestly, it's impressive. But yeah, I did all that. The arch, just like Central Western area, downtown, Clayton, like some of the neighborhoods, and all in the process as well, trying to figure out, okay, where am I going to live? So did some apartment hunting, and and then
hopefully you had credit by then. You could sign for your own apartment.
My credit was solid at that point. It was
amazing.
It was.
Let's go.
At that point, I was like, yeah, I can roll anywhere.
You didn't need no cosign at that point.
No cosign. I did not. My credit could speak for itself at that point. It was unbelievable. Yeah. Again, it's so yeah. I mean, I came and visited, and I was like, yeah, this is super nice. People here were really friendly. Everyone that I met, so that also made it really easy.
I think that's one of the big sells we have is that we do find that we are nice people, even if some of the other stuff isn't as nice. But I kind of piggybacking on you being the first guy. So you obviously were the captain of the City 2 team in the year that we didn't have the first team available. So in my mind, you don't pick up a guy and him not have some really quality leadership experience. So what was some of the experience that you went through with some of these kids, frankly, some of these young guys that were on the team and guys who didn't necessarily have professional experience? What was kind of working with them like, through that expansion year and not really even having an end in sight?
Yeah.
And he says that because Spurs are looking for someone like that, because they're just going to have a ton of players without leadership qualities, and so
that is true. That is true. That is true.
Yeah. No, it's. I mean, it was definitely an eye opener, because most teams that I've been a part of, when I got drafted, my first 3, 4, 5 years of playing, I was always one of the youngest in the locker room, and you don't have to take on that role. And all of a sudden, I found myself, there were times when, like, people that have never played professionally before asking questions, and I'm like, how do you not know this? In my mind, and I go, oh my God, it's their first year playing pro. It's and for me, like, things that come with just experience, and you just know it just because you've been through it. It took me a while for it to click in my mind. Okay, this is their first time going through it, and you just got to be patient with it. And I loved it because not only did it give me a chance to help people out, because when I was a rookie, I remember having 2 guys in the locker room, actually 3 guys in the locker room, that I looked up to a lot, that helped me in a lot of ways and were always there when I needed something. And so for me, it was an opportunity to do that for a group that was really young. And in the process as well, I learned a lot about myself as a person, as a leader. And it helped me practice my leadership skills and just be better at it. Because I think when you do that as a form of service for others, you benefit from it without even realizing, because I learned to be a lot more patient and a lot more encouraging, because it was a young group, that things were not going to click immediately. It was going to take time. And so the patience and the encouragement part of it, I've always kind of had that, but it helped me develop it even more. And it was a wonderful group to work with. Some of these players are still on City 2, some with the first team now. So, but it was overall a really good year. I really enjoyed the position that I had with the team at that time.
It was so fun watching you play. We've always loved, I obviously, as we've said, we're huge footy fans, and we came to a ton of your games last year. As many City 2 games as we could come to, we came to all of them, and it was so easy to see your leadership on the field, and just like the calmness and the presence that you bring. Oddly enough, what got this conversation started that we're in today is because during the Union Omaha game, we were there and we were live tweeting you during the game. You didn't put a single foot wrong the entire game. Your reading of the game was just incredible. Thank you. It was what we came to know from you from last year. And so it's really, it's exciting. And what I love is, looking at the first team now, you all get a lot of coverage by, the amount of goals that you score and the amount of high pressing, counterattacking style that you play. But the backbone of it is solid defense. Without what you all do in the back and what Berkey does in between the pipes, we're not able to score the goals that we do. So it's gone a little underrated in my opinion as a defender myself. So I just want to give you full props for the defensive effort on both sides.
Yeah, but again, you guys see it, but I think for most fans, it's always, how many goals are we scoring? If we win, how many goals are we scoring? On the defensive side of things, it almost becomes an expectation that, you're supposed to do that, and I think if you look at historically, teams that are dominant, take even Man City, for instance. Man City is a really good ball possession-based team, but defensively, how many goals they get? I think it's 33 goals this season. That's incredible. That's really incredible. And without your defensive structure, you're not going to be able to do much, because if you're letting in a lot of goals, yeah, that's a problem. And so I think every team that's really good usually, and and the modern way of defending is not just the defenders. It's a team effort now. It's not just the 4 guys in the back or 3 guys or 5 guys, however many guys you have in the back, and the goalie. No, it's not like that. It's a team effort now, which I think our team has done it really well so far because everyone works really hard on the defensive side of things as well.
Yeah, it's fun to watch. As a fan, it's so fun to watch each and every game. It's so easy to see the unit going forward, the unit coming back. It's great. It's been fun hearing about like your upbringing up to this point and kind of like where you've been. But the thing is that like on this podcast, we also like to talk about our Premier League teams as well. And it reminded me when you said like, if you're not scoring goals, then it doesn't matter. And it reminded me of our Chelsea friend, Nick Flinger in the corner, a guy that doesn't score a lot of goals over there with Chelsea. But I'm curious, in interviews and things that we've read, you're a massive Manchester United fan.
Oh yeah.
I want to get your thoughts on the season so far. We have 2 games left before the end of the Premier League. How do you feel like we've done? And I'm saying we because I'm a fan too. These guys won't claim them, but I will.
Yeah.
How do you feel like we've done this season? What are your thoughts?
I mean, I think it's been a decent season overall. I mean, like I said, 2 games left. We can jump Newcastle for sure if we take care of those 2 games. So finishing third is not terrible. I mean, behind City and surprisingly Arsenal, but it's like
I would agree.
Me.
That is a surprise. Yeah,
that's all they celebrate over there. Second place.
Surprisingly Arsenal. But I think the only disappointment is getting out of the Europa League. And the way that it happened, because winning at home and then tying that game, going away, and the way that it all happened. I think if United was still playing the Europa League and probably in the final, that would have been a pretty good season. But I mean, there's still a cup final against City, and so there's another trophy. And if United wins that against City and finishes third, I would classify that as a pretty good season. That's a solid foundation to build on for next year. But we got to check on our Chelsea.
I do want to
our Chelsea. Guys. Okay, that's.
Nick, do you want to break the news on the transfer rumor over there?
Well, that's what I was going to say. You were just talking trash on Chelsea, and a lot of the boys have been talking trash on them throughout the year. Obviously, we're probably deserving of it since we've been in 12th. In the bottom half of the table, which is just unheard of for me. But the rumor has just come out that United is looking to sign Mason Mount in the summer, and I know that the 2 United fans on our podcast absolutely roasted Mason Mount when he was a Chelsea Blue. So I just wanted to get your opinion on whether you think he would fit well in a United system.
Maybe Henry. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe it's just that he was playing in the wrong system, on the wrong team. And he might be a better player.
I don't think that was it. Henry was saying he was trash and that he couldn't dribble. Don't backtrack now. Because
you put him under a good coach. You put him under a good coach. A lot can change. Nick.
Yeah. I think if he comes to a better team, with better players around him, with all that stuff,
more prestige.
But I think, don't get me wrong. It could be a good transaction. He's a good player.
You wouldn't mind a Mason Mount on United?
I don't know. I think it just depends on the price.
I want him to say it so I can say that.
Josh Yaro says Mason Mount to United.
Honestly, he's a good player. So he could.
That's what here first, folks.
Thanks.
He would clean the heck out of Bruno's cleats, that's for sure, for $80 million.
Well, so I want your thoughts. It's obvious that United isn't a complete project right now. We have the right coach, but if you got handed the reins to United's transfer market over the summer, what do you think that United needs to address first, and who would you go out and get?
Apparently, it's Mason Mount.
Apparently, Mason Mount.
Maybe Mason Mount. I don't know. I think another striker for sure, because. Yeah, I think that's the one position that probably will push for maybe another goalie. Because
that's a great take. If
are you on the out train?
No, I think he's an excellent goalie, but maybe the way that United plays, right? Maybe the way
Yeah.
that United plays, because when it comes to shot stopping, he's excellent. So if you want a keeper that can just do that, then he could be your guy. But if you want someone that maybe can start playing from the back, maybe he's not. And he's done a lot for this club. He's done a lot for United. But even just having someone that, if he's not there or if he's not playing, because what happens if he gets injured? Who steps in?
Very true.
And you need
Jack Butland apparently.
Yeah, and you need a goalie that can, in case of something happens. So I would definitely go on someone else in the midfield that can, because look at this year when Casemiro was out, how much the team struggled. So finding someone that plays his position, that can step in when he's injured or when he's suspended, whatever the reason may be. Because I think whenever he was out, the team struggled. It was pretty obvious. So get a goalie, a striker, and another midfielder.
They struggle without Casemiro unless he got a red card, because he did do that a couple of times this season.
Yeah, he's choking people. He's doing whatever he does.
Yeah, I mean he's really aggressive, and he's flying to tackles, and you're going, no, dude, no. And so
I will give him a little bit of credit. I will give him a little bit of credit because although he's gotten red cards, the Premier League is known to be the most physical league and the toughest league defensively out of all of them. So the fact that he's came from La Liga to a league that was going to be, much more physical, the fact that he's known for that in general, but the fact that he, stepped it up maybe a little too much.
No, but I mean, he's done really well, really well. And like I said, you could see when he was playing and he wasn't playing, the difference between how the team performed. And so, I'm not saying get his replacement, but at least someone that can, provide such qualities that he brings. A backup for him, essentially.
Do you have so between a goalkeeper, a backup midfielder, and a striker? Do you have names? Do you have people that you want? If you could choose, honestly, who is it?
It's tough because you see all these names, and I don't know how true it is, but someone somewhere, I was on Instagram this morning, linking Neymar of all people.
Yeah, we were just talking about it last podcast.
United, and I'm like, that's obviously you don't know how true that is, but that could be interesting.
Do you want Neymar?
I mean, the guy always brings something special, but is he going to fit well in what the team is trying to do? Maybe not.
Be injured in a month.
You guys have, he's injured a lot, and you've got good wingers. Not the first position I'd say that needs to be replaced.
Yeah, for a striker though, gosh, I can't remember the guy's name, but the Napoli striker, what was his name?
Oh, Victor Osimhen. Yeah,
he could be a fantastic player for us. I mean, he's scoring goals left and right. Why not? Yeah, it could be really good for us. But
one of the other United guys couldn't make it on today. His name's Connor. He's all in for United getting Harry Kane from Tottenham. What are your thoughts on Harry Kane? Would you see him perform well in United?
I think he would fit right in because look at his work rate and his production rate. It's unbelievable. The guy's not lazy. And
how does that make you feel?
It sure is unbelievable. And
maybe while we are there, how about we get both Harry Kane and Son?
Ooh,
that would just hard. Andy would take cry. The soul.
We wouldn't the soul out of Tottenham.
Tottenham, I never win another game without those two.
Hey, they got an F1 track coming to their stadium. They're good.
Yeah,
fun.
Harry Kane, I hate saying it. He is a good fit, I think.
Oh yeah, no, he's
no way around it.
The guy, not just a striker. I mean, he can play as a target striker. He can create. He's a number 9 that actually can drop deep and play and create things, and he does it all. I mean, and he's a hard worker as well.
And from
any team,
from watching United, I completely agree. And from watching United, it's almost like that was the number one thing they lacked was someone to interplay with on the wings, like Rashford, like Antony, Sancho. They do their own job on the wing, and they do it pretty well. but there's no combination through the middle, and the chances are just limited. So I hope to keep him, but
I don't.
could be just me.
I don't think he'd leave though. I don't see him leaving. That's the thing.
I don't think he goes to a Premier League club. I think if he does leave, I think he'll go somewhere abroad because Daniel Levy and the Tottenham ownership board are sticklers when it comes to the money. So
that's what I think as well, because obviously Poach being Chelsea's new coach linked. There's also links with Harry coming here, and I don't even think that's going to happen just based on
no shot.
Chelsea, Tottenham. Yeah, it just wouldn't.
I couldn't see it.
Allow it.
But
I do, as the season is coming to an end, and I was obviously, when we're messaging you on Twitter, you don't have faces to who exactly is messaging you for the Mecca banner. But I was the one who messaged you asking if you thought City or Madrid was going to win that game, and obviously you said City.
Yeah,
and they did win by a landslide that game and kind of showed their dominance. So I kind of wanted to pick your brain coming into the Champions League final, and seeing what your prediction is on that, since that is kind of the next big game for the sport.
Again, I mean, a cup final is always. I mean, both teams got there because they did something right, and anything can happen because it's a one game and win or go home.
We know that best over here at Chelsea.
But I think as dominant as City has been this year, it's hard to really root against them. Although being a United fan, I don't like them as much.
I was going to say it was interesting how quickly you said City when I asked you. I was like, "Are you sure that's a United fan?" He was like, "City for sure."
I mean, as much as it pains me, but I think they're really dominant. Because even look at it in games when they make subs. Look who is coming on.
When they play their second team and they beat us 1-0. Yeah, I know.
I saw that. By the way, that was. Oof. I don't know how that happened.
Yeah, when Kevin De Bruyne, Haaland, and Rodri are coming in on the 80th minute with a 1-0 lead, that is heartbreaking.
Bro, that's scary.
Yeah, but I think they're really dominant this year, and they have been the past years, but this year they are really dominant. Inter is good because defensively, I don't think they're gonna give up much, right? But City is also a team that is gonna at least score a goal. And it's decent.
Yeah, I think it'll be such a good matchup, offense against defense. Yeah. I think Denzel Dumfries on the right wing back position is going to have a field day with Jack Grealish. Dumfries could get sent off with 2 yellows. You never know. Grealish could do nothing all game. It's just it's going to be a good one.
Yeah,
you do bring up a good point though. It is a cup final, so like
it's a cup final. Anything is possible. But if you're looking at it just like on paper, like you'd say City, but I wouldn't count Inter out because I mean they're defensively they're really solid, and when they attack, they have so many guys up top that can cause you some damage. And so, I don't know. We'll see.
I was going to say, going into the City Chelsea Champions League final a couple of years ago, people had the same mentality, and look how that happened. So.
It's really nice of you to bring that up from a couple of years ago just to make yourself feel better. It's like it was years, dude, let it go.
I have to scroll. I have to scroll to find us on the table, Henry. Give me some.
It's so bad.
Yes, in the Champions League, maybe 2-3 years ago, I think was when they got knocked out. Or they've gotten to semis, and then you're like, oh, they might win, and then they get knocked out. It's soccer. You never know what's going to happen. But I think City has had the experience. This is what I think is going to help them in the Champions League now, from getting knocked out so many times that now that they've made it to the final, they've learned their lessons, and I think they're better off for it. And so that might add a little bit more to their team than they have probably in the past years. So we'll see. I'm personally, just because it's a Premier League team, being biased, but I think City has this one, but you never know.
Yeah, I kind of agree.
Yeah, I think we all would.
I love the fact that you're coming on this podcast. It's the most that these guys have talked about United the entire season. So I really appreciate you opening them up. I'm like, it's the first time Andy Hoover's admitted that Harry Kane would be a good fit at United ever. I'm like, this is great.
That must have hurt Hoover to say that.
It does. I hadn't admitted it prior.
Yeah, but
terrible.
Wings, I'm kind of disappointed that Arsenal didn't win it. I was actually rooting for Arsenal to win it, to be honest.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
you
yeah,
like this. Like everyone in our training staff, I think all our trainers are Arsenal fans.
well, they're all intelligent. It
Yeah.
makes sense.
And I really thought you guys had it. It was close.
So did everyone else.
We've talked about it, and they all strict. If I was a City fan, they would have been rooting for Arsenal to win it all. So like they take their reactions with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
But we've talked about it on several podcasts, and we'll talk about it. You know, one that we do in the next couple of weeks about the end of the season. But it was for sure heartbreaking, and you know, having some key injuries like Saliba and Zinchenko towards the end of the season sucks too, because Saliba, the way that he, you know, commands our back line and is sort of that leader on the back, really hurts the way that we can play the ball moving forward. Like we talked about, we know how important the back line is in terms of allowing everybody else in front of them to play a certain way. And on top of that, this was the first year that our super young team was contending for a title like this. And I think it just got to him a little bit. And obviously we had a bad string of games the last couple months and dropped too many points. And then, like you said, this may be the best City team we've ever seen under Pep as well. So this of all years was not the year to be dropping points when we did. But I don't know if you saw, but Arteta is being given roughly $200 million to spend in the summer on players. So assuming he actually gets that and actually uses it wisely, I think there's a lot of promise with this group now that Odegaard is a year older, Saka's a year older, Martinelli's a year older. All these young guys, you know, that we've re-signed are coming back again.
Just a bottle again.
Next year's going to be great.
Yeah, that's my question for Josh. Do you think we have the argument, did they overperform or did they bottle it or both? Do you think they bottled the league?
No, I think Winks mentioned it, because a team like City, when there's pressure on them, they've been in that position for years now. Pretty much the same group. And sometimes experience counts for something. Because I think if the roles were reversed and City was in Arsenal's position and they were getting chased, they probably would have held on to it, because they have the experience, you know, to figure things out. And I think what hurt Arsenal was that they had a really good team, but in one or two injuries, and the whole team dynamic.
They replaced him with Jorginho.
Yeah. You know, and what I was actually super confused in the last game. Thomas Partey as a right back.
Yeah, and Kiwior playing wing backs. I don't know.
I was really
the one, right? Arteta in.
Yeah. But yeah, I think like you said, Wings, if with the experience going into next year, because you guys had a really young team, and I think it's going to be a much better year for you guys next year in terms of competing for the title, because now they've all had experiences, and if you add in some pieces that could strengthen the squad, I think you go a much longer way than you did this year, because I think the one or two injuries that you guys had really hurt you, and you didn't really have any replacement for those guys.
I appreciate you saying that.
No,
I just think they bottled it. Like I hear you. I hear you, and I'll die on this hill. It's just they were 12 points clear. Like when they were 12 points clear, like that's the thing. It's like, yes, City is who they are, but to be that clear at the top of the table, I don't know if I'll ever be able to see it any other way than a Nottingham
Forest and a must win.
I'm just like, dude.
Look at it though. Even like Liverpool this year. You know, like it's tough. Like you go through stretches as a club where, you know, sometimes you're one win away from the season going amazing, and one loss away from it being a shitty season. And I think it's in soccer, like, you know, this
fine margins.
It's all momentum. You tie one game, two games, all of a sudden, oh my God, you know, like you're trending the other direction. And I think that's what happened. You know, and then all of a sudden, when Arsenal was tying and City gets a win, and they go, "Oh my God, we can catch these guys!" And so their momentum is on the rise, and I think there was just a huge momentum shift. But again, I'm not an Arsenal fan, but I was pulling for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, you sound like a closeted Arsenal fan over there, so chill.
Yeah,
I like this.
I did not
yeah,
want to
come on.
win it. City has won what
Yeah.
5 times in the last 6 seasons.
They don't have any fans. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, Josh, we have two final questions for you. Who is your Premier League player of the season, and who is your underrated player of the season in the Premier League?
Whew, that's a loaded question. Premier League player. Ooh. Honestly, I don't know. Maybe I just woke up an Arsenal fan today. But I think what Odegaard has done for Arsenal has been amazing. Like I would put him up there.
Would you say
Underrated, I wouldn't say
Odegaard?
underrated. But I think Luke Shaw, everyone knows is good. But I think this year he's unbelievable. Even when he's
Playing
playing in
multiple
the
positions as
in the
well.
center, So yeah, I think Premier League, I would go with Odegaard and underrated. Not that I wouldn't think most people would agree that he's underrated, but Luke Shaw.
I
I
would
think that's a good
argue
shout.
comeback
Not
player of
Haaland.
the year. I wouldn't maybe say underrated. I'd say comeback kind of, because Luke Shaw was fine. This season he was better.
Yeah, no, I mean this season he was unbelievable. But in terms of God, if he is not, then who would you? Okay, let me ask you guys this: who would you think it's the underrated player in the Premier League?
We got a shout last night. We went to Football STL. We played a pickup game last night, and they were saying Lewis Dunk as the underrated player of the year, and I was like, that's a great shout in that Brighton team. He's been a backbone of that team for 15 years, and they've been playing the best football that we've seen in a long time. So Lewis Dunk was a great shout. I liked that a lot.
Yeah, no, that could, but it's also, I mean, there's a lot of perspective. Like, even you look at it, not saying he's underrated, but even someone like Salah this year, that everyone goes, he's not having a great season. You look at his numbers and you go,
it's still a great season.
Yeah,
bad numbers.
Yeah.
Like, if anyone else puts up those numbers, it's gonna go, oh my God, you're having a great season.
I would love those numbers. At Chelsea.
I was gonna say I would love to have that number. Yeah, that'd be great.
A lot of people in the Premier League would probably, would be okay with such numbers. I mean, it's same with Harry Kane. Although the team itself is not winning a ton, but you look at his production, right? What he keeps doing, it's unbelievable.
28 goals in a season and not winning the Golden Boot is insane.
Because of the person who Josh should have said is going to win the Player of the Year, Haaland. Like, what are we talking about? Like, the guy's an alien.
I mean, what he's done, it's unbelievable.
Never been done
there's
before.
No taking away from that. There's no taking away from that. But I'm looking at, because again, if you take Haaland out of the City squad right now, would they still be okay?
Josh knows ball.
Like, if you took him out,
yes, they would. They would be okay, but I don't think they win a treble.
I don't know, bro.
They haven't won a treble yet.
I don't think they do. I think Haaland brings that next level that they needed.
Yeah, but look at those two people, like Odegaard and Haaland. Like, if Odegaard was not on the Arsenal team, would they be the same team? Would they have done as even closely as well as they did?
You're right. Yeah, you're right. No, you're right. That's a valid point.
Look at his backup. Not a bad player. It's a World Cup winner.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, World Cup winning Julian Alvarez.
But I think if you were going to give an award for Haaland, what he's done. But if you're looking at, I was looking at it in terms of just like,
of course,
of course, in terms of their importance to the team, in a way.
It was the Josh Yaro Knows Ball Award. I love it. Well, Josh, we couldn't be more appreciative of you taking time today to talk with us. Now, I do want to shout out on the podcast your foundation. And can you tell the people where they can find out more information about your foundation? Where can they find more information? Yeah, I mean, you can find on Instagram, Twitter, but if you want to learn more about the foundation, if you go to the JoshYaroFoundation.org, you find all the information you need to know about the foundation. And as always, if anyone ever has questions, always can reach out to me personally on Instagram, on Twitter. I will always answer people, when I get messages. But yeah, check it out. Well, perfect. And,
Very
Well,
cool.
thank you so much. We will be checking it out as well. We want to invite our listeners to make a donation. Join us in making a donation. Josh, you'll have a little donation from the Mecca of Banter into that foundation here today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. And gentlemen, good work. Cheers.
Gosh,
Yeah,
thanks,
thank
Josh,
you guys
so
for
much,
having
man.
me
Amazing
on.
stuff.
Y'all take care. Hopefully, I will get to see some of you, if not all of you, in person sometime soon.
Yeah,
Yeah,
You
let me know
will.
be at games,
whenever you
man.
guys are around. Just yeah.
Yeah, we're
Perfect.
around.
Cheers, everyone.
All right.
Awesome.
Take care, guys.